Welcome. I'm going to call the February 25th, 2020 Weber County Commission in order. And my name is Commissioner Gage Freud. To my right, Commissioner Jim Harvey. To my left, Commissioner Scott Jenkins. We'll start this meeting with an invocation by Ricky Hatch, Pledge of Allegiance by Brian Benyon. I'll give the thought of the day, then we'll go with the consent items. Ricky?
Let's pray. Our dear Father in heaven, we come before Thee this morning with gratitude for the sunshine and the great weather that we're having. Thankful for the chance to live in this country and in this county. We are grateful for all those who serve our country as well as our county in various capacities as public servants, as first responders, and as citizens and community members. We are mindful that so many of our rights come from Thee, and that it is a responsibility of our government to protect those rights. And we pray that today in the meeting, as we discuss various issues within the county and that impact our citizens and businesses, that we can keep those principles of freedom in mind. That we can share our thoughts civilly and openly and come to mutual understanding. We are grateful for the leadership of the county, the elected officials who serve, and ask that they can be inspired in their decision-making today. And we are grateful for so many citizens who have come to express their thoughts and to observe and communicate, and ask that Thou wilt bless them as well. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you. It's great to see the turnout we have today. Not every day that we see this type of participation, so it's fun to see people here. So my thought of the day, commissioners, I think it was Ross Perot that said, life is never more fun than when the underdog competes against the giants. And which brought back some memories to February 22nd, 1980. Assuming everybody remembers that day. February 22nd, 1980. Where were you, Commissioner?
That's right. Like yesterday.
That was yesterday, wasn't it?
I was in 1980. I was still in high school.
Okay. Well, it was a very important day for the United States. That was the day that Miracle on Ice took place, where the United States men's hockey team played the Soviet Union for the gold medal. And for those that don't remember or weren't following the Olympics at that point in time, the Soviets were really a professional team. It would be like a professional team playing a college team in today's NHL. And it was a miracle. If you recall what took place, the Americans were not even favored to be in the game. That there'd be a 6-0, 6-1 before the second period. Well, after the first period, just to remind everybody, it was a 2-2 game, tied up, which the Soviets at that point in time were starting to get a little concerned. The Soviets scored in the start of the second period, so they led 3-2 going into the third. Hockey player by the name of Mark Johnson, who I had the pleasure to meet, my kid skated with him back in Minnesota a couple of times, scored the tie goal, started the third period. And then a gentleman by the name of Mike Arizoni, with 10 minutes left to go in the third, scored the fourth and winning goal. 4-3 game, United States wins. Goes down in history as probably being one of the most famous, if not the most famous, hockey games forever. Just shows you that underdogs, when they compete, can rise to the top. And since we're talking about hockey, you probably saw another underdog story this past weekend where the Hurricanes, Carolina Hurricanes, were up in Toronto playing hockey. Well, a team travels with two goalies. No matter where they go, they have to have two goalies suited up. Both their goalies got hurt before the second period started, I guess it was. So what do? They have what they call in the league, they have an emergency goalie provision, which allows the team to pull up an emergency goalie. That emergency goalie happened to be the Zamboni driver for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So they suited him up. He played a little. He wasn't a professional hockey player by any means. He was what I call a beer league goalie. He gets in. He has 2 goals scored against him immediately. If you look at the coach on the bench, he's shaking his head thinking this is going to be an ugly experience. Well, the underdog stood on his head. Saved 8 out of 10 shots. Hurricanes win 6-2. So again, that just goes to show you underdogs can prevail. It's a matter of attitude and what they make of a given situation. So that's my thought, Commissioners. Thank you. All right, let's move on. I want to move on to the consent items, but with your permission, I'm going to request that consent item E8, request for approval and amendment to contract by between Weber County and the Ogden City Redevelopment Agency for the Grant Avenue parking structure be removed and reconsidered at another time. The reason for that, Commissioners, I don't think we have a solid agreement at this point in time and want to make sure that that takes place before we approve it. So, with that, Ricky, I would say that we're going to remove consent item E8. Postpone, to a later date. So the ones we will consider are the following. Number 1, request for approval of warrants 2456 through 2473 and 447,554 through 447,784 in the amount of $837,271.14. 2, request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $951,233.13. 3, request for approval of ACH payments to Select Health in the amount of $752,663.60. 4, request for approval of minutes for the meeting held on February 18th, 2020. 5, request for approval of a new business license. 6, request for Weber County ice sheet for approval to surplus office furniture. 7, request for approval of a retirement agreement by and between Weber County and Janet Tillotson. Those are the 7 items we'll consider, Commissioners. Questions?
No questions.
Ricky, would you like to give us a rundown on those?
You bet. We issued 28 purchase orders this week for $951,000. 64% of that amount, or $607,000, is for the library. That will go towards purchasing books and audiovisual materials. 30%, or $286,000, is for the roads, and that is going to purchase asphalt and gravel. As far as checks go, we wrote 249 checks for $837,000 this week. 17%, or $138,000 of that was for the jail, and that will will pay for ammo and weapons, as well as medical services and food for inmates. 14%, or $119,000, is for the Weber Housing Authority, and that is for housing payments. 14%, or $118,000, is archery range construction. 10%, or $86,000, is for the library, and that's the payment for books and materials, as well as some utilities. And then 10%, or $88,000, is for the Convention Visitors Bureau, the monthly contribution we make to them. And then 6%, or $52,000, is for the sheriff, and that's to purchase guns and ammunition.
Thank you for that, Ricky. Questions, Commissioners?
No questions. Not at all. Motion to approve consent items.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Let's go to action items. F1, request for approval of a resolution of the Weber County Commissioners, Weber County, appointing a member to the Weber Morgan Board of Health. Mr. Binion?
Good morning,
Welcome.
Commissioners.
Good morning, Brian.
Thank you. Just coming with a request of a resolution to appoint a board member. And then I'll just quickly read this resolution, and if there's any questions, we can discuss that. Whereas the Weber Morgan Board of Health consists of 13 members, one of which is an appointed member by the Board of County Commissioners of Weber County, based upon a recommendation from one of the 3 local school districts. And whereas a vacancy was recently created by the resignation of board member Karen Harrop, who represented the Ogden School District, and whereas Ogden School District recommends Jer Bates be appointed by the Commission to fill this vacancy on the Board of Health for the remainder of its term, now therefore pursuant to the provisions of Utah Code Annotated 26A-1-109 and the Board of Health bylaws, the Commission hereby appoints Jer Bates to serve as a member of the Board of Health. The term for this appointment shall expire December 31st, 2021. This appointment shall be effective upon the adoption of this resolution.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioners?
Not about this one, I remember that. And so this is, does this fill the remainder of that vacant term?
That term, yes, which expires December of 2021.
And then the rotation will then, I believe, go to,
I think it's Morgan and then Weber.
great,
School districts is the rotation.
good.
Here to make a motion?
Make a motion, we approve the name of Jer Bates to the Weber Morgan Health Board, or the Board of Health, to fill that vacant position.
Thank you for that motion.
If that was a motion to approve the resolution, I'll second it.
Okay, I believe that was a motion to approve the resolution.
Thank you.
That would be Resolution 7.
Yep.
Okay, that's a second by Commissioner Jenkins. That's a roll call vote.
Commissioner Harvey?
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins?
Aye.
And Chair Four?
Aye. Thank you. Motion carries. The resolution is approved. Action item 2, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and the New York City Dance Alliance for a rental waiver. Cassie Bybee, please come up.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners. Usually
Morning.
I'm here on fun business, promoting a play or a musical or kids act up or something exciting. This one not quite as fun and exciting. However, here we are. So we're asking for to be a little bit outside the ordinance so that we can waive the rental agreement by New York Dance Alliance on this contract.
Okay. Questions? This is in your portfolio. Commissioner Harvey.
We talked a little bit, the reason for this, Commissioners, is there was a realized double booking with another customer. We wanted to keep both of them. This is a ratification, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Correct.
my question is has the New York City Dance Alliance booked for next year?
They have not, no.
We're holding dates for next year for them,
You're
but they have
holding-
not signed a contract.
When do you expect them to sign?
The contract return date is the end of the month, February.
End of February, so by Friday. Okay, great. How did it go this year?
Well, they're coming in the first week of March.
I'm sorry.
And that's what we have asked is, so what we had to do is because of the double booking, we had to ask them to move their event forward one day.
My understanding was it was last weekend, and I
Yeah.
apologize for that.
So, because they're coming from out of state and it changed some of the planes, they had to change some of that, they asked for some compensation.
Commissioners, this is I hate these things. I hate them. But I've asked Cassie with Marty and Jennifer's help and Ross to change process so that this doesn't happen again, and I've been assured that it won't, not just on this particular week, but all the other 51 weeks, including this 52nd week, so it doesn't happen again. So my recommendation is that we approve this contract between Weber County and the New York Dance Alliance for the waiver.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion, second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cassie, I
Appreciate
just want
that.
to, while you're up here, say great job on the recent ragtime play. I was able to attend that. I think
Oh, thank
you were
you.
there. That was just a fun event. Well attended for both nights. I was there
Well-attended both
Saturday night.
nights. Absolutely. We had people asking if we would extend to this next weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we didn't have the space, or getting 60 actors in the orchestra together to do that is very difficult
Yeah,
on that notice, but thank you for that.
Yeah, the difficulty I have with it is that's, for 2 nights, those people had to put in a lot of time for 2 nights worth of play, but
They actually did, but what's interesting about the concert-style version that the actors loved
Yeah.
is when, we had several actors that perform at Hell Theater all the time, and when you do a show down at Hell Theater, it's about a 6-month commitment between rehearsals and then the run of the show. So what the actors were saying to us is, yes, they started rehearsing from January, but they would come 3 days, 3 evenings a week, well, 2 evenings and then 1 Saturday morning. So 3 times a week through January into February. So we're asking 6 weeks and then 2 nights. It's almost to an actor, get in, get out. And they absolutely loved that. But it was a lot of work for just 2 nights.
I'll bet that's great.
And our first concert series, we needed to start small and see how the community would accept it and support it. And now we can look, and Marty and I already have ideas for next year's concert series, and we're excited about that. And then we'll look at possibly going 4 nights with this next year's
Oh, that's
in
great.
2021.
Mr. Chair?
Please.
How long has it been since a full orchestra used the orchestra pit?
Well, Chamber Ogden Orchestra comes in and does events there and uses the orchestra pit. Michael Palumbo books some of his concerts, like the Red Dress concert that was recently there in February. And then he also sometimes plays with Imagine Ballet Theater. But this is the first time that we've had a full orchestra to a live, to a musical. So this is the first time we've ever done that.
I remember Friday night thinking, I just was watching it, the performance, and then having to consciously think, oh yeah, this is a live orchestra down there watching the conductor. It was really, really wonderful, and they did such a great job.
They did, and if I could just publicly give a thank you to Michael Palumbo and what he did, the partnership that we brought. He is so excited for next year. He was just like a kid in the candy store. He was so excited how things went. And he said, so Cassie, we're in for next year. We're doing something together next year as well. And I said, absolutely, we want to keep working together on this. So
Just if you, I'd like to make this quick, but will you just take 2 seconds and say how busy our theater is compared to what others on average are? Will you just share that?
well, a theater that is being successful has an event in every 3 days, and we are averaging event in every day and a half. So, I mean, it's really kind of hard to find a date. I mean, I myself, with Ogden Musical Theater, would love to extend 5 carols. The show that we
Christmas
we
time.
did at the Christmas time. I just do not have the space in my theater to be able to do that. And we have wonderful shows that have been coming into years for the theater with, the Nutcrackers and that come in, and Ryan Shoup is another self-promoted event that we bring in each year, and people look forward to that too. So we're running out of space.
And commissioners, I'll just speak to this briefly. This is going to tie that right back in. With the type of how busy we are in our theater there, being almost twice as busy as most successful theaters, you can see why occasionally we run into situations across the hallway at the Ogden Eccles where we just have so many different events going on. So sometimes those things happen, and so I really appreciate what you're doing over there. You're maximizing the potential of our little local
And
conference
just
center
so
and
that you
theater.
guys are aware, because I didn't speak to this, the client, New York Dance Alliance, asked for far more than what we agreed to, okay? And when they kept giving us pushback, I got Chris Crockett involved and just said, what do you think, Chris? And he said, no, I think we've done plenty for them. And And that kind of stopped those negotiations and said, this is what we can offer. We realize there was a mistake on our part. This is what we'll offer you. And we hope to see you here, the first week of March and move forward and offer them a great event. And that's what we'll do.
Great job. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Let's move to action item F3, request for approval of the 6th amendment to the contract for solid waste transportation disposal by and between Weber County and ECDC Environmental LC. Sean.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for this time. Commissioners, you have before you the 6th Amendment to our current contract with ECDC, or Republic Services. This is the landfill that we use to transport our waste from the transfer station. So the new 6th Amendment would begin on September 1st of 2021 and expire on June 30th of 2026. It's essentially a 5-year extension from the end of our current contract. As part of that extension, there will be no annual fee increase this year for 2020. And beginning on July 1st of this year, our rate will drop down to $24.99 per ton. If you amortize that out over the life of the contract, it is a significant savings in the transfer and disposal of the waste that goes from the transfer station. So,
Can you give us a ballpark number on that?
Somewhere between $500,000 and $600,000 potentially. Yeah.
So this contract, we have a rate reduction. The savings would be approximately $500,000 to possibly $600,000.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. With no rate increase for at least 12 months.
Correct. Then following that, there will be an annual 3% increase beginning on July 1st, 2021. That will be built into the contract to cover CPI and other expenses. And then anything above that 3% that has to do with transportation, fuel increases, et cetera, that will also be passed on. And if there are emergency issues that arise, those will be negotiated in good faith on a quarterly basis as necessary. A couple of changes to the contract. Number one, the provision that allowed the county to receive bids from other contractors has been eliminated. But in this new extension, if at any time after June 30th, 2024, the county owns 33% ownership in a landfill, we could give notice and eliminate this contract and then use our own landfill to dispose of solid waste. There's also a provision in here that would allow after June 30th, 2024, for the county to take all of its controlled tons to a waste-to-energy facility if such facility existed at that time. So, Commissioners, those are the changes to the contract with this extension, and it is here for your approval.
Thank you, Sean. Commissioners, questions, comments?
This, the transfer station where all the curbside waste throughout our entire county is taken to, once it's picked up at the curb, it's been a big deal. 3-4 years ago, we were losing how much a year?
A lot of money.
It's substantial, hundreds of thousands of
Hundreds
dollars.
of dollars.
Now we've turned that around and we're now in the positive.
Correct.
Plus, we're adding another $500,000 to $600,000 to pay that debt back.
That's right.
So that's great. That's great. That's a great shift. I commend you, Commissioner Jenkins. You were a big part of that, turning that around, and also our Council of Government, which is our 15 mayors, that transfer station subcommittee, and especially John Watson, who runs that facility out there, for turning that around. This is a big deal. It's a huge deal. And so everybody has waste. And this is a positive move for everybody who resides in our county, and some even outside. So that's great. We're finally, I have one guy that I'm looking at in particular to the point where I think I can live with these negotiations. This took us a long time to get to this point. So I'm comfortable here.
Mr. Jenkins?
I agree with that. I'm comfortable. This is a really good move for us. And just to let you know, I'm going to recuse myself from this vote because I have a son who happens to work for Republic Waste. He's not directly involved in this contract, but just out of good policy.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very
You bet.
much for that. Commissioner Harvey?
Ready for a motion?
Yeah, I am.
I'll make a motion that we approve the contract. Reese, I need you to just settle down for just a second. I'll make a motion that we approve the contract by and between Weber County and this environmental ECDC for this contract for our transfer station.
Thank you. I'm going to second that with a comment, and goes to Commissioner Jenkins' hard work on this. This has been a long time coming. One of the commitments we made last year when I first came on board was that we wanted to review every contract that the county had with independent contractors to make sure that the county was getting the best possible deal, best possible price they could, because those are taxpayer dollars. This is a shining example, and again, thanks to Commissioner Jenkins' hard work with Republic being involved with that, to save the taxpayers of this county roughly $500,000, which is a big deal. That $500,000 can be spent to pay down a lot of some other debt that we have, to really make sure that tax increases don't take place in the near future, why the garbage disposal services are being taken care of in a professional manner. So, Sean, thank you for your work. Reese, I think we're in agreement. We had a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Commissioner Jenkins
Recuse.
recuses himself. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to the next agenda item, which would be F4, discussion on unincorporated Weber County garbage pickup. Sean, you're back up.
Commissioners, thank you for giving us a few minutes today to discuss the issue of contracted solid waste collection in the unincorporated areas of Weber County. You have several people here today who I believe would like to speak on this issue, and we appreciate you allowing them that opportunity. Let's just quickly go through a few of the major points associated with this this new service that will be provided in unincorporated Weber County. First, why is this being done? When the county commissioners started hearing from residents about the amount that they were being charged to have their waste removed by the private contractors, we also heard about the disparity in those prices. Neighbors were paying vastly different amounts. There were some concerns, and legitimate concerns, that you had. So those are two of the things that this new program will address. I have not talked to a resident yet who will not save money, who currently has this service, who will not save money. This will be a definite cost savings to the citizens of unincorporated Weber County. This will also equalize the cost for everyone in specific areas, and we have 3 different areas. Up in the Ogden Valley, Waste Management will be the provider for that area. I understand that in the Valley News there was something published that said Republic Services was that provider. That is incorrect. Waste Management won the bid for Ogden Valley, and they will be the provider. For the Uinta Highlands and Western Weber County, Republic Services will be the provider. Commissioners, this whole process started approximately a year ago. We went out to bid for this type of service. We had 3 bids that came back, and Waste Management was the winning bid for Ogden Valley, Republic Services again for Uinta Highlands and Western Weber County. We're also looking at some safety considerations when it comes to the number of trucks that are going to be going through these neighborhoods, and environmental considerations as well. We know these trucks tend to put off a lot of pollution. They're large trucks. They're out on the road quite a bit. So in those considerations as well, we feel like this is a good thing for the citizens of Weber County. Okay, again, the contract is for collection of residential 90 to 96 gallon waste containers. This is a typical size garbage can that is currently in use. I believe Republic's contract said 90 and Waste Management said 96. They're essentially the same thing. But just that curbside pickup of residential waste. Okay, Scott, would you like to come up, and we're going to talk about the cost associated with this service.
So the cost associated with the services varies slightly depending on the area where you're at, and you can see the breakdown here. Uinta Highlands, the waste hauling company charges $5.54 for a container pickup fee. That's if the can is empty or if the can's all the way full. That's just the cost to get the truck there to grab it and put it in the back of the dump truck. The disposal fee is an estimate based off of the average weight of each garbage can. So once the garbage truck has picked up the can, it has to take it to our transfer station, and it has to pay our transfer station to dispose of that waste. That $4.38 in this case will be their collections to pay the county's transfer station. So that's money that's collected by the waste hauler but will eventually be paid to the county's transfer station for us to dispose of that waste. The billing fee is also charged by the hauler. They're going to send out a bill to the residents. They're going to manage the customer service of that, and there's a 78 cents per month fee to cover the cost of mailing. And then there is an administrative fee that the county has added on there. It's $3.69 in the Uinta Highlands, and in the Western Weber County it's $3.11 in Ogden Valley. This fee is used to cover the county's costs associated with managing the garbage services. The biggest expense we anticipate will be bad debt expense for the first few years. What happens is, in order to get lower rates with all the waste haulers, the county has guaranteed payment of the service collections. So if a resident does not pay, the county will step in and will pay that, and then we will add that delinquent charge to the property tax of the individual, which we collect once a year. So there's going to be some timing differences between when we're responsible to pay the waste haulers and when we're actually getting collections back from individuals who choose not to pay initially. And then that admin fee will also be used to build up a little bit of a fund balance in order to prepare for the future, to manage garbage waste services in the future, to have a little bit of money in there to plan what we're going to do in the next 4 or 5 years as the garbage situation changes and as the Western Weber County and the Upper Valley continue to grow. So that gives us a little bit of fund balance to react appropriately and to plan ahead, and it also helps us smooth out any spikes in the garbage. So if there's a big increase one year, we wouldn't have to pass that all along. We would have a little bit of a cushion to absorb that. Any specific questions on the fee structures?
Questions for Scott?
Questions on this. There's a slight disparity in the billing fee and admin fee between the Uinta, Western Weber, both at 78 cents, 369, and then the Ogden Valley. Why is that?
So Uinta Highlands and Western Weber County is with Republic, and Ogden Valley is with Waste Management, and we were able to negotiate different fee structures. So you can see, like the container pickup fee in Ogden Valley, Waste Management was able to quote one price. They didn't break out the disposal fee and the container pickup fee. So there's just differences in the way that they've proposed, and they have differences in costs and their terms of...
That answers that question. Thank you. Yeah, that's great. Not
Thank
great,
you.
but I mean, I got it.
There's no questions? Scott, you done?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Sean, back to you.
So, Commissioners, just a couple of highlights as far as timeline. So letters were sent out to all unincorporated residents in single-family dwellings on February 3rd or around that time frame. We had a few come back, but for the most part, we believe it was successful in getting those letters where they needed to go. Today is the public meeting where you will receive questions and comments from the public. We have not approved any contracts yet, so neither contract with Waste Management or Republic Services has been approved. We've gotten those to the point where we feel comfortable moving forward, but those have not been presented to you for your approval.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. So as of right now, just to be clear, there's no contracts that have been signed for curbside pickup.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So in the month of March, both of these providers will be sending out information to the residents that they will be serving. That will talk about pickup days, customer service information, et cetera. The county will not be providing that information. That will be done by Waste Management and Republic Services. And then in mid-March, we expect the waste container delivery to begin in preparation for the April 1st deadline when that new service begins. Now, I'm not saying that the collection will start right on April 1st. It will likely start after that date, but that is when the contract would be in place. So, shortly after that. Commissioners, do you have any specific questions for me?
Questions for Sean?
Pickup of the old containers.
Correct. Pickup of the old containers will happen in this mid-March timeframe as well. We signed a contract with EconoWaste where we bought out those contracts. They have guaranteed to us that theirs will be removed by April 1st, and we expect the same thing with Republic and Waste Management in various areas where they were, that they are no longer serving.
Who pays for those pickup fees or drop-off fees?
There will be no pickup fees, but there will be a one-time drop-off fee. In western Weber County, that cost is, and Uinta Highlands, that cost is $14. That is a one-time fee that will be paid for the new garbage can. In the Ogden Valley, the fee is $15.35 for that one-time fee. That's just the difference between Waste Management and Republic Services. And again, it is a one-time fee for that new garbage can. If someone has an existing container and they're currently with the same provider that they will be with under the new service, there will not be a charge.
Thank you for clarifying that.
This rate that will be billed by the respective curbside service providers, how long, I realize we just enacted a transfer station fee that after a year will go up 3%. What will be the rate increase after is there any anticipated rate increase in 3 months, a year, 10 years? Can you speak to that?
It's anticipated that the contracts would be for an initial term of 5 years. During that time, the base rate stays the same. Now, there will be increases, CPI increases, if there are transportation cost increases. Potentially, those are things that will be passed on, and that rate will increase annually.
But that CPI and those things we just discussed are similar to or about 3%.
Correct, and that would happen anyway, regardless of whether it's a private or public program.
Those CPIs were set to go up here in 2 or 3 months.
Correct.
And now have been not just eliminated, but are now going to be lowered. And does this rate that was shown by Mr. Park, does that include that, does that reflect that lower anticipated rate, the $24.99 at the transfer station?
Yes, so, and if the transfer station fees were to increase, we could expect to see an increase in this cost as well. We don't anticipate seeing those fees increase this year because you just saw that they decreased. So what we're seeing with the contracts with Waste Management and Republic Services is reflecting the current price at the transfer station.
Very good. Very good. You have more to your presentation?
No, Commissioners, that's really all we have. I will let you know we have received several comments from residents. Most of those have been very positive and people saying thank you for helping us control the cost and bring the cost down. There have been some people who are upset that the government is getting involved in what they consider to be a private business. We've also heard from a lot of people who have dumpsters or other means of disposing of their waste who are not excited to participate when they feel like they can do this on their own. So those are some of the concerns that we have been receiving, just so you are aware.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Can you speak to those who have, currently have a small couple-acre area where they may have some horses, or they have a small farm, cows or something there, or something a little larger where they're using a dumpster? They're having a tipping fee, and they're not paying $14 or $15 a month. Most of those are about 50, from what I understand.
Yes. So, and this is in the frequently asked
That's
questions.
that's a month.
Handout as well. Sure. And by the way, the fees are quarterly, and we've had some confusion there. A lot of people thinking that these were monthly fees that were being charged. Billing will take place on a quarterly basis, and the fees that were listed are quarterly fees.
I haven't talked to anybody whose fees are less than $20 a month.
Correct. So, Commissioners, let me address the dumpster issue. In discussion with you, we did come up with some criteria where potential exceptions. Excuse me.
Sean, you just said something. I want to correct that, I think.
Okay.
They're going to bill it quarterly,
Yes.
but the fee that was just shown is a monthly
Okay.
fee.
I'm sorry.
That's right.
Okay,
So
yes.
it'll be 3 times
Three
that.
times. Correct.
Very good.
Correct.
Okay, I
I
was going to
apologize.
say, there's nothing left if you get to that point.
My fault. The fee that was shown in the letter is the quarterly fee,
Very
and that was broken down monthly in the slide.
Thank you.
Thanks
Sorry
for that
about that.
clarification.
Thank you for that clarification, Commissioner. To the dumpster issue, Commissioners, in discussions with you, you felt like it was appropriate to have some kind of an application where someone could claim an exception, where we could review that on a case-by-case basis, and if they meet certain criteria, potentially opt them out of this garbage collection service. One of those options that Commissioner Harvey mentioned was if someone operates a legitimate business or farm where there is income and it's a legitimate business, they could potentially be accepted from having a garbage can because they already use a dumpster for their residential and commercial waste combined. Now, there are some other criteria that go along with that. All of those are listed in the application that is back there and addressed in the frequently asked questions as well. So that is one potential exception.
I have, having been involved with the fairgrounds, I know that people take care of their animals, and especially the good ones. They take care of them quite well, and those who do have a fair amount of animal waste with shavings and things like that, and they certainly couldn't put those in a round garbage can. They have to put those in a dumpster. People who might use their horses to go hunting, or they, for whatever purpose, go barrel racing, whatever they use their horses for, and some of them keep a cow or two, and they feed that for they have a small little farm
Correct.
operation. They harvest the meat or do whatever with it. And so I'm very sympathetic to those who are, this is part of they may keep chickens. I really don't care. But they have some kind of a farming thing where they benefit from that little farm. I just want to be sensitive as we move forward that in that type of situation, if they currently have some kind of a dumpster because they have that kind of an operation and they're probably putting their household waste in with the animal waste, as long as the haulers know that's the case and they use I think it's a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yard dumpster, whatever that size. They have them in all those different I think they have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I want to be, I'm just sympathetic to that and want to champion that.
Those situations will be considered on a case-by-case basis if an exception application is sent in. Now, one thing I want to say, Commissioners, the bids that we received were based on a certain number of homes that would be included in these areas. And if we get too far off that economy of scale, the price will increase for everyone else. So that's why the exceptions are on a case-by-case basis, and we have to consider those carefully, because we don't want too many people to opt out if we just allow that without a good reason. That could potentially affect the price for everyone else.
Understand. I don't think I have any more questions, Sheriff.
Jenkins?
Orr.
No, we've gone through this in detail, and I'm comfortable with where we are, so.
Thank you. So just to be clear, Sean, stay there a second. So we do have the form in the back of the room. This will be available just for everybody in the audience to make note of this. Weber County Trash Collection Exception Application. So this will, is it online or will be online?
It will be, yes.
Okay.
That's right, on
And
the county's
just-
website.
And just to verify, this will be done on a case-by-case basis. And you can, this is part of the opt-out program. We realize that there are certain cases that, as Commissioner Harvey mentioned, whether that be an agricultural use or other uses that probably are deserving of exceptions. And we're very much aware of that and sensitive to that issue. Sean, we talked about the cost basis, which I firmly believe is a cost savings for vast majority of the residents in Weber County. You touched on the safety and environmental issues.
Correct.
How many trucks do we have, let's say on a weekly or monthly basis, going up to Ogden Valley with different providers? I'm aware of at least 3 and possibly up to 5
Yes.
that use that canyon on a regular basis.
Correct.
As we are all aware, Ogden Canyon is becoming more and more congested with truck traffic. The air pollution is a concern. The traffic in the Ogden Canyon concerns a lot of the residents. It concerns UDOT, and it concerns us as Weber County as we look at the health and safety. Can you address that along with, I understand we've also had some calls or concerns with these trucks in neighborhoods where on any given week there might be 3 or 4 up to 5 carriers going into these busier neighborhoods with kids on bikes, tracks, et cetera, that present a safety problem. Can you address the extent of that? Because I just want to be clear that this is not entirely about cost. It's about being environmentally friendly. It's about taking trucks off the road, and it's about safety concerns in the neighborhoods across the county.
Commissioner, you've said it very well. Those are all concerns that we considered. Yes, there could be potentially up to 5 different haulers in some of these areas on a regular basis, depending also on if people have recycling services, which, again, that's not included in this, but that's another potential area where that could be a concern.
Right.
So, yes, we reduce the emissions that those trucks put out, and we do reduce the safety issue in some of those neighborhoods. In some of these areas, the streets are narrow. They're not improved fully to county standards in some areas. And it does present a safety concern when we have multiple trucks on multiple days going up and down these roads where kids are walking. Yes,
Okay.
Those are 2 issues that we took into consideration as we thought about implementing this program.
Yeah, great. I just wanted to be clear that as you reviewed this, it was not entirely about cost.
Correct.
That was a part of the equation, but not the entire.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Additional comments from commissioners? Mr. Jenkins? Okay, we will now, and just so everybody is aware, this is not an action item on today. We won't be taking a vote on this, but because we do have some public interest, we're going to allow public comments on this. As you come forward, please state your name and address. We are going to limit the comment period to 3 minutes, and I'm going to ask that you please try to be aware of the time, and if the comment has been made previous, I think we understand it, so try not to make the same point twice, and we can move forward this and have everybody have an opportunity to discuss it. Again, keep in mind, this is not an action item. There will be no vote today, but your comments will be recorded and taken into consideration. So please come forward. The clock is over there, and I'm just going to warn everybody that I'm pretty strict on the clock, so if I cut you off, you'll know that I've cut you off because you've exceeded your 3 minutes. Ralph, go ahead.
Oh,
Easy.
new chair today, so I'm still judging it a little bit. Oh. Right there, that's that.
Yeah.
My name is Ralph Price, 636 6th Street. I want to make comment on this because as you're doing concern for the waste management, and there's an issue that's kind of often is not for many people. That's us with wheelchairs and this, that they bring their cans out and they sit them and they take away our accessibility to get down the road. And there's places on the road, if they move them right on out, that we can have access to the sidewalk and not have to do the hoop-de-hoop and try to go ahead and get down the road. There's places that do not have sidewalks, and you have to go down the side of the road, which is already dangerous for us. But having cans set out there without been thinking about the accessibility for us to be able to transport ourselves around the city and around the county to different places, I wish that you would put something in, and a notification in, so that they might be sympathetic to us that are handicapped and being able to get around and get down the road. So I'm just saying that if there's a way that you can conclude in this new agreement that you have, and put a little statement in there for them to be sensitive to the fact that there are people in wheelchairs, there are people that are with walkers, there are older people that are trying to transport and have a life and get around in the society still, and we'd like them to be a little more sensitive about our ability to get around. And then, so if you could put something in there that as you send out these new things about what's going on, about this, us that are handicapped. And so I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph, for those comments. Thank you very much. Next.
Hi, my name is Val Sanders, 3889 West, 2900 South. I live out in Taylor. I wanted to thank the Commission for giving us the opportunity for the collection exception application, because I also own Econo Waste and I also have a small farm out there. And I think it was really important that they let people who have dumpsters keep the dumpsters and not have to pay two haulers for the same service. For an example, I live kind of down off the road. I deal with probably 15 or 20 people. For an example, one lives across the bridge. There's 10 or 15 homes across the bridge. You can't fit a truck across the bridge. And they have a dumpster on the north side of the bridge with a lock on it. That's better than having 20 or 30 dumpsters lined up on somebody else's property weekly, and nobody's going to drag a can a mile down the street. So I just want to say thank you. I really appreciate you guys putting all the effort and trying to save the citizens and everybody money, and it's really, really important. I can't thank you guys enough for letting people have the option of keeping their metal dumpster, because I haven't had anybody really complain about the other, and we haul, what, 35, 40,000 homes, you know, not in the county, but around the county and everywhere else, and that's every week, so about 50,000 barrels we dump every week. To answer his concerns, one garbage truck driving down the street with the automated barrels out front is a lot easier than having 5 trucks drive down the same street, putting automated barrels every third or fourth home. So I think what you guys have done in this direction is a good way to go, and it's even better now. You can let the people who have the small farms and the taxidermy shops or whatever they may have at their house. I just have a garage behind my house that I work out of, but I still have a 135-acre farm, and I'm one of the ones with the dumpster. I thought, well, I don't want to pay for 2 services if I absolutely don't need them. That would be ridiculous. So I take my garbage bags out, throw them away, and now I got to drag a barrel down the road, put it out also. It didn't make sense to me, but from everything I see here in the literature, it makes it real clear. If the people here will just read this, fill out the application, they should be accepted, and everybody should walk away happy with this deal. And back to the other people, I don't know anybody that was paying $15 or less per month for the garbage service. So none. That doesn't exist. So money-wise, I think people's going to save a boatload. So, and it's a good thing for the county. The county now generates money. The hauler generates money. And personally, I own in a garbage company. I can tell you right now, for $5 a home, I couldn't do it.
That's right.
You got a $100 barrel. There's $500,000 for the barrels. Another $1 million for the equipment to do it. That's $1.5 million. There's no way that I could do that, what they're doing, if that makes sense. As long as the price stays competitive, like where they're at now, and it's not a bait and switch deal where it's cheap now, but you're paying $50 in 3 years from now for the same service. Because they have people that make hundreds of millions of dollars that are paid to figure out reasons to up the price.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
We understand that this, it's not one size fits all. That's why we've tried to look at the entire area and the people that we represent, and make exceptions for those that do need the exceptions. And we appreciate that, and really that I think you hit it on the head, that as we've looked at these numbers very hard, realize that the cost savings to the individuals is going to be substantial. Thank you.
No comment here. Val, I just appreciate working with you, know you know it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, ma'am.
My name's Susan Lowther. I live at 5048 South Snowflake Drive up in Eden. And I appreciate what you're doing. I understand why you feel the need to do it. But I would just like to go on the record to state that the citizens of Weber County for over 180 years have been able to provide garbage service for themselves. So to have a government entity come in and tell us how to do it and what we need to do is not necessary. As far as the environmental issues, when I had Waste Management as my provider, I had a can that you could never close the lid on. Therefore, as soon as the 3 o'clock every afternoon's breeze came up, the cans opened, the papers flew, and there was stuff up and down the roads, every single one of them, every single week. And those end up down in Pineview Reservoir or in the creeks and streams along the way. So, as far as the 5 different providers driving up to Eden, yes, that is a problem. However, they come with the smaller providers. They can come on a day when the weather is good. They plan it that way. If they're supposed to be there on Tuesday and we have a big storm on Tuesday, guess what? They'll wait until Wednesday or Thursday, and they'll still come get your garbage, but nobody gets killed in the canyon. Nobody's sliding all over the road. With Waste Management, they are on a schedule. They have to get so many places, so little time, that they're always in a hurry, and even if there's a big storm coming through, they are going to be on the roads. They are going to have those trucks sliding up and down those roads. So there will be more people getting hurt, and I understand that's just part of doing business. This does look like a really, really good deal for everybody. However, they will raise the rates. And there's no reason that we should have to pay Weber County an extra $3 every month just because you decided to go with big business and do your business with a big company versus a small company. That is all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next.
Morning, Commissioners. Ron Gleason, unincorporated Huntsville.
Good morning.
Echo the thoughts said, always appreciate saving money. Currently, we pay $71 per quarter to Waste Management. So a savings would be about $75 a year. The one question I have and what I wanted to address was just touched upon by the last speaker, is the Weber County administration fee. The numbers I got in my letter are a little bit different than what Scott showed there. So my numbers may be a little bit different here, but approximately 21% of this quarterly bill is going to go to Weber County for administration fees. According to an article in the Standard Examiner on the 10th of February, there's approximately 5,000 or 5,300 households in unincorporated Weber County which is going to be affected by this. When I do the numbers for over 5 years, that's over $1.1 million which is being collected by Weber County as this administration fee. And I understand, and I heard what Scott said about trying to cover some delinquencies and then maybe for future use. I look at this as a hidden tax because it's not clear at all what the county's going to do with it and what they're going to do with the funds that are left over. So I would like to see that this fee either gets drastically reduced or eliminated because I think it's excessive, and I'm not sure how he worked out the numbers, but I think it could be a lot less. All you're doing is pushing buttons or pushing paperwork around for 21% of my quarterly fee. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ron, just stay there a second. We've actually looked at that, and you have, my word, and I know that the fellow commissioners would agree with this. That's something that we're going to analyze at our budget sessions as we move forward. And if it needs to be reduced, it'll be reduced. What I found through the years, what we don't want to do is set that too low and then have to increase that in a year or 2 years. So I can tell you this, we will look at that. If the costs are justified, it'll maintain. If they're not justified, which, I would hope you're right that they're probably high, but we need to make sure that The fee covers the services we provide, so in the near future, we don't have to come back and redo this contract.
Mr. Excuse me, ma'am.
You're out of order.
You're out of order.
Commissioner Harvey?
Could you answer, Sean, could you answer that question for me? Again, on the fees, how those fees were broken down? The previous person talked about monthly. Those were quarterly fees on all the things that I've seen. Can you just go to that again? Because I know the postage costs.
Thanks, Ron.
And the envelopes and all that stuff.
So that's all taken care of in the billing costs for the haulers. There's a billing fee that is charged. The county administration fee comes back to Weber County. That is the cost of us administering this program. That pays for the cost. Now, in addition to, I know people see that fee and they just think, oh, the county's getting this big fee and they can do whatever they want with it. That's not the case. This fee we've already expended a significant amount of money to get this program started. We had to buy out the contracts that Econo Waste had. We sent out the letter to all the unincorporated residents, which cost quite a bit of money to do that. There are other things that we have done that cost employee time. So some of these costs for this first year that we're collecting this fee, we've already expended. So we need to recoup that cost and then move forward.
Great, thank you. Sorry, Mr. Gleason, just if you shake your head, I know you're not at the mic. You said your annual fee, your savings is as low as I've heard, but was about how much again?
$75 a year. We're paying $71.
So you'll be saving $75 a year, and that, and if garbage fees were on a line item, Scott, Mr. Park, they were on a line item for your taxes, which in some counties or some municipalities they are. This could be considered as some type of a tax reduction, then, couldn't it? It is a reduction of fees to the household.
Yeah, if we billed from on the property tax notice, we don't, but I guess if we had, you would consider a tax reduction, yes.
All right, thank you. That's it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, please come forward.
Commissioners, Mike Gillespie, Eden, Utah. I talked with Sean separately, which greatly reduced the number of questions that I would have for you. Sean says that we're going to go 1 year as a kind of an experimental and adjust from there. Is that correct? Is that your understanding?
Yeah, and I believe,
Sean, come up and make sure we're clear on this point.
Mike, are you talking about the administrative fee?
I'm the program.
You're talking about the program?
Entire program.
No. So not the entire program, but the administrative fee can be changed at any time by the county commission because that is money that just comes directly to the county. So the fee that will be paid to the hauler, the billing fee, and the disposal fee at the transfer station, that is by contract. So that fee will not change except with the CPI increase or whatever takes place. But what can change, according to what the county commission decides, is that administrative fee.
Right.
I was hoping that we would have a trial year and make any adjustments, contractual or fee-wise, would be a good idea. Because there are a couple of things I'd like to add to your considerations after you've had some experience with this. One would be the fee, and I won't beat that up again, because it does look like $11 per quarter, according to this letter, is quite significant to just deal with the bad debts and some other administrative fees or expenditures. You don't want the public perception of that becoming a hidden tax. I know you don't want to do that. So I would think you ought to review that as time goes on and you get some experience with it. The other thing is if you want to be sensitive to a group, Jim, you might want to consider the recyclers. There are people who actually cannot or are able to not produce garbage and might be considered as a special case to be exempt. There are people who use the recycling bins, and then the rest of their refuse, table scraps, go to their pets, dogs and cats. The vegetable matter goes to their compost pile, and voila, they don't really produce much garbage. Any garbage, in fact. Those people do legitimately exist. I'm not one of them. And responsibly recycle and don't produce waste. The other group of people is, let's say a couple of neighbors, elderly people. They produce maybe a garbage sack full a week, and they're not allowed to combine as neighbors into one. They hardly fill a quarter of a trash can in a week. You might consider those people. When I first got the letter, I'm out of time already. Waste Management is a pretty profitable company, and it's not just price. They provide a very good product, customer service-wise. They're safe. They have well-paid drivers, well-trained drivers, and going through my neighborhood, I've never had a problem with them being irresponsible. You never see a Waste Management truck broken down on the highway. They apparently have good maintenance, and they're profitable enough to do that. So that was my initial concern, that if we happen to give back any of this $11, it would be back to the contract. I'm happy to pay the price I'm paying right now.
Okay, thank you. Next.
James Richardson. I live in Huntsville, 943 North, 7300 East. One of the items that I'm mainly concerned about is waste management. I did a price check on the people in my neighborhood, and there were 3 different prices, 3 different customers. And I've heard horror stories about how they change prices over the years. So this administrative fee that you are going to collect, I hope, is going to really address that issue. The other question I have is that if there's a missed pickup, for example, I live at the end of a street, and it's kind of hidden, and I've had in the past Econo Waste miss it once in a while. So I call the company, and they normally say, we'll pick up next week. And that's not unacceptable, because I don't have a full container, but there's a lot of my neighbors that do. So if another truck is going to come up in the valley and actually make a special pickup, is that on the agenda? Or are they going to say, oh, sorry, we'll get it next week? Then you're going to have your health issues, overflowing trash, and those other things that you're trying to avoid. So also, is there going to be a complaint vehicle for us to, if there's a missed pickup or the driver knocks over the can or whatever might happen, is there going to be a vehicle set up for us to record issues for your future renegotiation with these companies? And as far as the comment on the number of trucks going up and down Ogden Canyon, I think you're going to be exactly the same, because whether you have 5 different truck companies going up, they're not going back empty, they're going back full. So the round trips are going to be the same. You're going to pick up all the garbage that's in the valley. The number of trucks is going to be the same. That's all I have.
Yeah, our analysis, Jim, doesn't support that, is that the one provider up there will be able to cut traffic a substantial percentage, because
I would say that. In each subdivision, yes, but probably not going up and down the canyon.
Yeah.
I don't see that.
And I appreciate your comments.
Okay.
Jim, thank you. I think there's a couple of good comments. Jim, stay here a second, in case I think Commissioner Harvey may have a question for you.
Sean, would you mind
Yeah.
answering his question? Or John, would you mind answering
The
his question?
The complaint issue is great, and yeah.
Yeah, if a pickup is missed and you had your can out, you contact customer service, waste management, and then they would come back up and pick it up. Now, if you miss not putting your can out in time,
Absolutely.
then you're going to either have to pay an extra fee for them to come up and pick it up, or wait.
And I assume that's
So-
going to be a steady schedule every week.
Yep.
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 That's good.
Does that answer it? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll make sure, Jim. Appreciate your comments.
Hello,
Welcome.
my name is Kay Laris, and I live in unincorporated Weber County
Hi, Kay.
in Huntsville.
Hello, Kay, welcome back.
Yes, Yes, it's good to be back. But I'm here because I know you've done a lot of work, and Sean, I've talked to you via email, and, you know, the comment was that this process started a year ago, but I know absolutely no one that was ever asked for any feed, or to provide any comments. And I would suggest that maybe you do. We are in a position where we do share garbage, like Mike said, and we, between 3 households, will have a 46% increase in our fees because of this. And without an opt-out option, because we recycle. Again, the recycling issue, if you're going to enter into a 5-year contract, consider recycling. I don't know why a forward-thinking county would not consider this. There's a lot, whether you believe in it or not, which was in my email to you, I think that you need to consider giving breaks to those that do recycle. And I think Mike hit on that as well. And then obviously the environmental concerns, you talked about the trucks, and you mentioned environmental friendly. Isn't that recycling? So I do think you need to reconsider that. And then I'm all about looking at that administration fee. So thank you.
Commissioner Harvey.
Thank you, Kay. Hold on. Just a second. John, can you talk about recycling for just a moment, please? This is where it is a sensitive issue, and you'll notice in part of the contract where we talked about in the transfer station, the item before this one, we talked about waste to energy, which is actually almost total recycling of all the municipal waste that comes in. But would you take 2 seconds and just talk to that, John, about that waste to energy program, where it is, and then also currently, today, what recycling is happening right this minute? I'd rather be just out in the open and forthright so people know what's going on.
Recycling, and like you're talking about recycling, composting mainly.
Hold on just a second so people know. Mr. Watson is the one who's in charge of the transfer station. He's the head garbage guy for all of the whole county.
Congratulations.
Whether you live in a city or whether you live in unincorporated Weaver County, this is the head guy of all that. So he has a great knowledge and background for that. So sorry, I just wanted to explain.
Jim, may I respectfully add that the newspaper says that John has ceased accepting recyclable material.
He'll speak to this. He'll speak to this.
Talk about the history of what's happened.
Yeah, please use the microphone.
Yeah, go ahead, John. I think this is an important area to cover.
I hate talking to people behind me.
Yeah.
Come to the other
Turn around
side.
then. Turn around a little bit.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, this way I can look at you.
Yeah, talk to the audience.
All right. A few years ago, one of the big things that happened that has changed the world with recycling is United States, most of your European countries, all were into recycling. I've worked different places around the world, and everybody is involved in recycling and a lot more stringent than we are here in the United States. There's some places here in the United States where you're required to wash out your cans, put cans in one box, plastic in another box, glass in another box. And the problem we have is here in the United States, nobody's taking that recyclable material and doing anything with it other than shipping it over to another country, which has been China and India and Pakistan and a few places like that have been taking all of that. Well, they've, here a couple of years ago, decided they were no longer going to take that. And so now we have stacks of recyclables that have no place to go. According to Republic, about 50% of all curbside recyclables go to the landfill now because there's no place to take it and the infrastructure's not there to use it. So recycling is tough right now. 30%? 30%. Okay, so anyways, that's tough. So recycling here at the facility, before I got here, I arrived here in 2017, I believe. They had shut down, taken the recycling into, they had a large recycling tent. And it was costing them a lot of money to take care of that, and anyways, they were losing money. And so a lot of the money, the debt that was incurred by the county came from that recycling effort. So just before I got here, they had canceled that, no longer were doing that. So at the facility now, we still do some recycling. We have quite a bit. All the waste that's being brought in by the public, all of the metals we're trying to pull out, aluminum we're trying to pull out, and all of that's going over to local recyclers right around us. It's mainly over to Bloom's, which is just across the street. And so that is what we're trying to do. We're also taking all of our green waste. We're chipping that up and using it for decorative bark. We're coloring it. So you have 4 different kinds of colors. You have the bark public can come in and purchase for a very reasonable price. And also the compost that's being created, which is in cohorts with the sewer department, so that we're able to take their ending product and mix the two together and use that for composting. And so that's available, and so all of that's going on. But as for recycling, one thing we've received a lot of questions about, and it's not so much for up in the valley as it is for Uinta Highlands. What are we going to do about curbside recycling, those who want to do that? Waste Management was doing it. They're not going to do that since that service went to Republic. I've talked with Republic. And if there's enough people that you get the economy of scales, and there's enough people that want to have a curbside program, then they would be interested in going in and picking up curbside in those areas.
Just a brief waste to energy, if you would.
Waste to
please.
energy. That is something we've been looking at. Everybody in the world is looking at, and there are a couple of different programs that have been presented to the county that they are continuing to look at. Basically what this program would be is all of your waste. Once a program like this started, you would not have a recycling can anymore. You would take all of your waste, put it into one can. It would go into this facility. They would run it through what's called a MRF, or a material recovery facility. Basically, it's a lot of conveyors and different optical types sorters, so they can sort the metals out with magnets. They can take the glass out with a sorter. Plastics they can take out with a sorter. Papers they can take out. And then all of that product would be what is got a value to it would be recycled, and what doesn't have a value to it will go on through the system, and then they would put it into a pellet or a fluff type formation, and then they'd be able to use it as a secondary fuel for cement kilns or for coal burning power plants, or they can put it into a pellet, put it under compression, and pull basically diesel and jet fuel from it. That's one of the programs that the county's been looking at, and I know that's becoming a bigger and bigger thing. Right now, there are no operating facilities in the United States for that. So it's just, right now, just a sales proposal.
So all the blue cans, the people that are paying for that curbside service, that essentially is just another form of garbage then that goes into your facility?
Well, like we were saying, about 30% of 30, I've heard 30 to 50% of the numbers I've received are going into the landfill. And if you want to see a good example of what happens, there was a recycling facility up in Logan that started up about the time I started here in the county. And they've basically closed that down, and it's just surrounded by waste that they can't get rid of. So it's tough, and it's not good, but it's
Market driven.
It's market driven.
Yes.
I got one other question. I ran the recycling for the 2002 Olympics, and we had the tipping room floor and everything, and we sorted out things. Then we still have one over in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Right now, we have St. Paul and Minneapolis in Minnesota, that the trucks are run off of the gases that come that Hutchison. I'm the one that ran the Olympics recycling for 2002 Olympics here in Utah. Do you guys do the process that second step of taking the yard waste and converting that to
Methane?
methane, and then use that gas?
There are a few places here that are starting up in Utah. Salt Lake City has one that just opened last year, where they're basically, it's in conjunction with the sewer department down there, but they are taking that and using some of that food waste and some grass for making methane. That is.
Do you have a place for a handicap guy to be involved with this?
Yeah, and so it's, so there are things that are happening. I mean, like I said, all of our grass that is brought in by the public, so all of your grass businesses and also the public are bringing that in, all of that grass is being used to make compost, which is, again, is turned around and resold. We're not getting into the methane business with it, but there are most of your sewer departments have some sort of a methane capture going on. And a lot of your landfills, I know our closed landfill that's over there by the park, Buena Vista. Buena Ventura, I'm still new to Ogden.
Do you have tipping room floors too?
What's that?
Do you have tipping room floors, sorting floors too?
We have a tip floor where the garbage is all coming in. So, but anyways, we're reusing that as in either in compost or there is some methane projects going.
Sorry.
Manual,
Ralph.
all the sorting is manual.
That thank you for,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Please come forward.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is
Welcome.
Hi. My name is Colleen Ingram, and I live in the unincorporated area of Weber County. So I've had several communications with Mr. Watson. I want to thank you because I appreciate you taking the time to return my email correspondence. My concern is the opt-out program. So currently I live on a side road. There's 5 of us that have gotten together, and we have a 5-yard dumpster because it was an unreasonable expectation to think that we could pull our cans a quarter of a mile to the main road to get can service. And that's a situation that we don't want to find ourselves in again. We want to have that option. So with the opt-out service, I can see that there's options that I think speak to this, but my question is, who are the decision makers for the opt-out service, and what is our recourse? So if they don't understand the situation that we're in and that we're dragging our cans for a quarter of a mile to get to a service, what is our recourse, and who makes those decisions?
So the application will go to Sean's department, and then he'll make a recommendation. And if you're not happy with that recommendation, I'm assuming you'd always have the ability to work with the commission directly.
Okay.
In the appeal process. Is that right, Sean?
That's correct.
And that's something that our office will be assisting with as
Right.
well. If we're going to be creating a process, we're going to want to see if there's a right to an appeal
Right.
and outline what those steps are.
Yeah. So it will be in detail. Initially, it'll go to Sean's department. He'll make the initial decision, and there will be an appeal provision after that.
Okay, perfect.
And let me just be clear on this opt-out provision, then, because that's been brought up by a number of people. Obviously, there are those that, under an opt-out provision, because of recycling, because they produce compost, because they have a legitimate reason for an opt-out, they'll be looked at very seriously. There's others, and I can tell you from a personal example, I've talked to a number of people in the valley that called me, and a number of those had good reasoning for opting out. And that's the reason we're talking about it today. There's others that said we don't produce any garbage, and my question, well, what do you do with your garbage? Well, we burn it. I've got a 50-gallon container barrel I've got in my backyard that I've had for 10 years, and I burn my garbage, so I don't have service, and I don't need it. That's unacceptable. If you're burning your garbage and you're using that as an opt-out, it's probably not going to fly, just to be aware. If you're recycling it and you can present a case that you're not producing garbage for any reason or you're recycling, that's probably will be looked at very seriously. But just a heads up, if anybody that comes to the county and says, I want to continue to burn garbage, again, keep in mind that's against state law. One thing we don't do is violate state statute. But we are cognizant, we're very sensitive to the fact that there are people out there that have legitimate reasons to recycle, and if they can show that, we'll obviously listen. So I hope that answers your question.
Yep, I just wanted to make sure there was a process.
There is a process, yep. Who's next?
Hi, my name is John Larison. I live in Ogden Valley, and I just have a couple of comments. One on the recycling. We do recycle, and 50% is better than nothing. So you can make the decision to recycle and get on board with some recycling in your program. Because 50% is better than 100% stuff going into the landfill. And second is, from listening to all of this, it sounds like it's already a done deal because you bought out Econo-Waste contract. So this whole thing is a done deal. We're just standing up here and talking to you at this point in time with no recourse, because we're Econo-Waste people and our contract is done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I would disagree with you. The reason you're making public comments is for us to make any changes we feel necessary before. You heard earlier, the contract is not signed, John.
But
so
Econo-Waste has been bought out already.
That's correct. Econo-Waste is not an option. Right.
Right.
That's correct.
So it's a done deal. In my mind, that's who I contract with.
Yeah, well, I guess if you're with Econo-Waste, you could say that it's a done deal.
Yeah,
You have other,
thank you.
but you do have other options, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Next.
David Rawson, unincorporated Ogden Valley.
Welcome, Dave.
I do have a can right now that I don't want to lose. I do pay more than 15, but I have a business and I use my can. So I hope that you'll recognize that there'll be a lot of us that want to opt out, and I don't know if you'll be able to do that because I know how that works with numbers. And while I'm up here as the business owner of Recycled Earth, I'd like to just be able to hope that the county could one day recognize me. The shortfall that was caused in the county because of recycling, I took. And yes, if it's just 50% that we recycle, that 70 tons of cardboard I do a day is a lot of waste that doesn't go to the landfill, and it doesn't feed his program, and it does something for the world. So I appreciate all of you guys don't even want to recognize me as a commission, but I'm still here. And all these people's cans that are recycling, since you brought it up, Commissioner, I'd like to be recognized for what we do and the 30 people that we employ, at least temporarily, until you completely force me out of business. We do recycle in the county, and it goes through my doors. Thank you.
Thank you. We understand that. You run a great shop out there, Dave. Next.
Hi, I'm Jill Goff, and I'm in Huntsville Unincorporated. I just have a couple comments, I guess. The third bullet here says that this is not a county-run program, but I keep hearing that the county's going to do this and the county's going to do this, and we didn't get a letter in the mail, so I called and I said, hey, how come I don't have a letter? And then I've been told to go to Waste Management. We've had Waste Management in the past, and they were the absolutely worst service in the world. Either not picking up my garbage and then saying that it wasn't my garbage, I didn't have it out there, yet we did. Their price jump, I mean, every 3 months or we did negotiate for about a year, and then the year would come and the prices would go through the ceiling, and then you'd call and it's kind of like your cell phone, you know, you change vendors every year to get the better price. But Waste Management has been horrible to, I don't know, I'm sure most people that have it here have had very poor experience with Waste Management in the valley, either from price or pickup to numerous things. But, you know, I keep saying I'm not county run, but yet everything is county until I have an issue. And then I've been told through emails that I got to go through Waste Management to get my can, to get this, and I have Econo-Waste now, so now I have to pay money to get a new can because you guys chose a different vendor. You should have negotiated my can rate because this isn't my choice. So that's all I have. Oh, one other thing. Snowbirds, people that go for the winter 6 months out of the year, they're still going to have to pay the quarterly price, even though they're not here. They're not renting out their home. Their home is vacant for 6 months. Are they still going to have to pay the quarterly bill? So that's my comment.
And I can answer that, and the answer to that is yes. And I can tell you that throughout the state of Utah, in fact, I can give you a personal example. I happen to own a second home in St. George. I probably fill less than 3 cans a year. And every month, I get a bill from Washington County that requires me to pay water, sewer, and garbage. I pay whether that can sits in my driveway, which it does 90% of the time, or goes out. So again, this is not something unusual. Municipality, cities charge for water, sewer, and garbage as part of their public services. And so to answer your question, yes. Now, could I sell my place in St. George and get away with the dump fee? Absolutely. I prefer not to do that, but individuals will have that choice.
Well, currently, we stop the service for 6 months out of the year, and
Right.
and Econo Waste, and when we were with the other one, recognized it. So
Right.
we were able to opt out for the 6 months that they were gone, and if they came back early, we started early, and they got prorated. So.
Yeah, and to answer your question about being a county, the difference again between what we're doing, you will receive an invoice from Waste Management for Ogden Valley. Municipalities, if you're in Ogden City or Washington County, St. George, you get a bill every month from the city or county that includes your water, sewer, garbage.
Right.
There's no opt-out. You pay it.
Right.
So
But
this is
we're
not
not
this is not unusual. Commissioner Harvey?
Ms. Goff, do you live in the Huntsville Township, or do you live in unincorporated?
Unincorporated.
Okay. I'm curious to know why you wouldn't have got that letter, and if you lived in the township, you wouldn't have got the letter. Did we have a few that we missed, Sean?
There were some that came back that said they had the wrong address, but that was the address that we received from the records that the county has. So we received maybe 100 letters out of the 5,300 that we sent out that came back. That may have been one of those. If so, it would just be because we had a wrong address.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next.
Good morning. I'm
Morning.
Bill Davis.
Bill Davis.
Unincorporated. I got a concern with the administration fee of the counties. You guys are saying that it's not a tax, but in a lot of ways it looks like to me it is. So I was wondering if we could put it into a fund with an earmark that it only can be used for the garbage or that, rather than taking the money and putting it in a slush fund and buying. Another comment is he said there would be administration to it. I don't want that going to hire more county employees. And then I got a question for Sean. These farms, some of these farms have 3 or 4 homes that are on the farm, but they're subdivided because of the way the county does the planning and that. When you're talking about a farm, can they have one dumpster and the 5 houses dump into that, or is that going to be a problem?
That's a great question, and typically what we have said in the criteria that we've listed so far is that it's a dumpster for an individual farm. If there are 4 houses that are subdivided, those are considered by the county to be individual single-family residences, and each one should be participating in this program unless each one has its own individual dumpster. So that would be the answer.
Correct.
Even though they're all contributing to the farm?
Yeah.
I mean, you said a farm operation. All of them's involved with the farm, but there's only one house that's connected with it. The rest has had to be subdivided. So, I mean, either way, I just want to get a clarification on that.
That's a good question. I have not heard that question come up yet. That's something that we may have to look at, commissioners. If all of those homes are legitimately involved with the farm, that may be something that we consider. Again, Bill, I would just recommend that you fill out the application and then let us see what the circumstances are.
Yeah, absolutely.
May I, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Davis?
Yes.
Have I always kept my word with you?
I was just going to say I'm proud of you guys. I think you've done an excellent job since you've been in office.
And I promise you, I will look at those administration fees as you talked about and those billing fees. and then return and report to you, sir.
Well,
And if we don't,
all I
and for the
mean
rest of
is,
you online, too. So.
You know what I mean? He talked about the future, and I can see that we need to plan for the future, but I just don't want to see us raise that fee and use it for other things. Maybe we could earmark it for.
We'll return and report there, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for
Appreciate
that.
it.
Scott, do you want to come up and, because there has been concern, and I think we've had discussions about that, and the commission intent is to just use that entirely for administration fee on this new program. If we can reduce the fee, we obviously do that and reduce it, but it's not going to be used for any other purposes. Talk about putting that in how we handle that from a budget standpoint, Scott.
So what we're going to do is put that fee in its own separate department or division, as we call it, and we will be able to track every revenue that goes into there. We'll be able to track every expenditure that goes out of there. So we'll be able to see what we're collecting and what we're using that money on. It's not going to go into the general fund account and just disappear and be another part of the tax. The problem with this service is that there's a lot of unknowns. We don't know what the default rate's going to be. We don't know what the collection costs are going to be. We don't know what other expenditures that we have that are coming. And so instead of having a sharp raise in the rate after 1 year, we've set this up to kind of be a cushion so that if we didn't estimate our costs correctly, we have a little bit of a cushion we can eat into. But that money, that cushion will stay there, and unless we have expenditures that are related to the garbage services, they're not going to be, I mean, we're not just going to be able to take these out and put them in our general fund to hire more police officers or anything like that.
Right. So the question is, that stays in a separate line item account. It doesn't go in the general fund. We're not going to pull from the general fund to subsidize this if we find out that we have an overage in cost. So we'll be able to look at this on basically a quarterly basis to determine where we are at any given time with the fund balance.
We'll review the cost quarterly, but we'll probably do an annual consideration because we will be able to recoup with the property taxes. Anybody who's gone delinquent for a year, we'll put that on their property tax notice. So it's going to be an annual cycle that we reevaluate the fee.
Correct. But we'll be able to tell on a quarterly basis kind of the direction we're headed, the trend.
Yeah, hopefully.
We'll look at the trend, so we'll know by the end of the year pretty much where we end up. Commissioner Harvey?
Mr. Hatch is our clerk auditor for the county. Would you say that that is a good, fair, and appropriate auditing process or accounting process?
Yes, actually, we talked about this just this morning, and yes, that's a good way from an accounting and control perspective to track those expenditures and take a look at them and make sure that they're reasonable.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Scott. Next, please come forward.
Commissioner, I don't know if this will help, but I'd like to add it for the public's
Go ahead. Thanks, Chris.
Benefit is that by law, those fees have to be related to the service.
Right.
Otherwise, it would be considered a tax.
Right. Yeah, and that's why it's not a tax, because it has to be directly spent on the service provided. Go ahead, sir.
Jeff Glum, I live in Ogden, 3725 Brinker Avenue. So I'm not involved in this per se personally, but some of the comments remind me of, we're going to go into your Social Security fund. Now Social Security's done away with because we don't have the funds at the federal government level. So you get into these challenges where supposedly it's earmarked for this, but all of a sudden, we need it over here, and it goes there. Just a caution. Just a caution, because you can promise all the things in the world, and all of a sudden something changes, and wow, now it really has to change again. Be careful. Be careful. I would dare say, as an Ogden City resident, I just got my water bill, and I haven't looked at it yet, but I guarantee I'm paying more for trash pickup in Ogden City than you will be in the county as a resident.
Guarantee it.
Guarantee it. I apologize I don't have that in front of me, but I'll just say that your cost is going to be significantly lower than what mine is.
I think it's currently 56.
So I don't know. But
Thank you for those comments, and I don't think we have the latitude that the federal government has. We're controlled by both state law and county ordinance, so and we live by state statute. Sean, do you have a question?
Just a quick comment, Commissioners. Speaking with Mr. Leonelli from Waste Management, he just mentioned the decision to end recycling in the Uinta Highlands area has not been made yet.
Okay.
It's under consideration, but that decision has not been made.
Thank you.
Just so you're aware.
Thank you for that. Next, please come forward.
I'm Kim White. I'm from Uinta Highlands area.
Could you state your name again? I missed
Kim
it.
White.
Kim White.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One question, well, basically, I don't agree with what you guys are doing. I think you ought to stay out of the public entity of this. If I was paying Uinta Highlands water, sewer, and garbage, I could see you guys being involved. But where I'm not, I'm paying water and sewage, not garbage. My problem is, if we've gone through the years, we did waste management for a lot of years, then they started messing up and started skipping us on the thing. And of course, they say that we didn't have our garbage out in time. Well, so we quit them and went with Econo Waste. They've been fine up to now. I have no problem with them. So you guys now, we're going with Republic. Okay, no problem, if that's what you want. What happens when they start messing up? What recourse do I have? I mean, like I said, I can't opt out. All of a sudden, it's you do this or else. I got to opt out of waste management because there's other competition out there. Now you're telling me that competition is gone. What recourse do I have?
Sean, do you want to address that?
Commissioners, with the bid, that is correct. We have awarded certain areas to certain providers, and the option to go with another provider in that area is no longer an option. The waste provider in that area will be who the county contracts with.
But Sean,
Yes.
so it was brought up before by Mr. Richardson about some type of avenue that a resident would have the ability to contact the county, which I'm assuming they could do through some type of procedure or process. That's a reason, one of the reasons for this meeting, that we would have pressure to apply to Waste Management or Republic because we do have the contract. I'm assuming, and we don't have a contract yet, that could be part of the contract.
If they were...
So let's say that the service wasn't, they missed a can or whatever
Oh, sure.
reason, so that we want the resident to have access to us to bill it, since we are going to oversee this contract to a
Yes.
certain extent, to have an avenue for these residents to register a complaint.
Absolutely. Yes, they're welcome to call my office. Rana would be happy to take those complaints, and we will establish that communication with Waste Management and Republic. We expect that there will be excellent customer service. They are representing the county in a sense, and that is the expectation that we have.
Right.
There are provisions in the contract that we've looked at thus far. We'll bring those up when it's presented to you.
Right.
But yes, we have looked at that.
So just so you're aware, sir, those will be in the contract. Again, it's not inked yet, but it's excellent comments. Commissioner Harvey, do you have a comment?
Mr. White, are you saying this would be more palatable if it were billed through the Uinta Highlands Water Improvement District?
I'm saying you're making it public. But
So
then
are you-
guys are saying
So if this
it's a
were to come...
government entity because you're involved,
Okay.
but yet I've got to pay now to another provider. I'm not paying through Uinta Highlands.
Well, they've never, Uinta Highlands in the 30-something years I've lived there has never invoiced for garbage.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. They
So
do
what I'm
not.
asking you is, are you saying if a billing mechanism were in place, are you saying that would be a better way to do it?
No, not necessarily. It's easier to pay the provider. We've done that, like I said, I've lived there 30-plus years, and that's just the way it's been. But with Waste Management, when they missed a couple times, we call them to come pick it. Now, we're not in your area anymore, so you're out of luck. You got to wait till next week. By then, your can's overflowing, and what do? I mean, and they pick it up, of course, dump half of it on the street because it's so full. And, you know, it was kind of a problem then, so we decided, well, let's go with Econo Waste. There was another one. Republic, I don't know. I've never heard of them. I think they do South Ogden, but I don't know what they're like. I don't know if their customer service is good. Econo Waste has been doing good for us. And sure, it's more expensive, but everything price-wise is going to be cheap now, but down the road, it raises it. Everybody raises every year for some reason. They always have a reason. So I'm just saying that, I should have an option myself if I don't like Republic. I don't like Waste Management. They're gone. Econo Waste, I guess. I don't know what you've done with them, but, that's me. I'm just my opinion. We'll go with Republic. I have no problem. But if I don't like them, you guys are giving me no recourse.
Well, we hope to have a recourse, at least an option for you.
Yeah, I should have somewhere else I can look if I need to.
And we intend to do that.
And I may pay more, but I don't look at the cost. I look at the customer service. I need that picked up every week.
Reliably.
And the other thing, the $14, I don't agree with that because you are forcing us to change. I have a can now. It says Econo Waste on it. And it's a good can. It's not that old. But yet you're going to make me pay $14 for somebody else's same size can. Anyway, that's my opinion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next.
Appreciate it.
Commissioners, thank you. My name is Lance Allen. I'm with Robinson Waste Services. So we do not do any of the automated collection in Weber County. We do a lot of commercial collection, though. And so some of the metal cans you're talking about does impact our business. And I appreciate the opportunity to allow our customers to opt out of the program for the reasons that they were stated, either the type of material, which is very heavy when you're dealing with horse manure, or the quantity of material requires the larger containers, or just the access to a road, which an automated collection service couldn't provide. So I think there's a lot of benefit to allowing that opt-out, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Yeah, we're very much aware of that. Next. Nobody has a desire to come up? Oh, there we go. We could talk one person into it. Please come up.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
Blaine Cutler, out in western Weber County. My concern with it is now and it's been projected already, but we got you've created a monopoly with yourselves and whichever garbage can you're going to have, green, blue, whatever. But what you've done is created yourself a monopoly. And what I'm hearing from your people out here is that's what they don't want. I've been 50 years in West Weber. I don't have a garbage can. I don't burn. I've got a dump trailer. I've got horses. I got beef. I got pork. Why would I let you guys charge me money for something I don't need? But that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Well, thank you again. There is the opt-out provision form.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
And you're more than welcome to fill those out.
Yep.
Yeah, if you've got a good reason, I'm sure Sean's department will take a solid look at it. Anybody else? Thank you for those comments. All right, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate the attendance. Again, the comment was made that the decision is made. It's been made in the regards that we have picked vendors for certain areas, but the final contract, again, has not been signed. The comments made today have gone on record, and it's our intention to analyze those, to look at those very carefully as we move forward before these contracts are signed. So it's the process we went through today, in my opinion, was very valuable, and the time that you've spent to educate us and to give us your thoughts are very much appreciated. With that, Commissioner Harvey, final comments.
The meeting would have been a lot slower if I wouldn't have had so many questions, and I appreciate that. I guess the one thing from me especially that I would state with those who are left is I apologize for the lack of communication up front. We do a better job in communicating today than we've done in the past, but this wasn't a good example of that. And we owe you an apology for that. I think many of your questions were answered on the flyer. We're genuinely You know, I live in an area that I have 90-year-old neighbors on one side. I have a divorcee on the other. I have a widow gal up on there, and the other neighbors are over 80. And this, in every case, will save them on average between $130 and $200 a year. We're not lowering taxes, but this is a way for us as a combined effort to buy in bulk, so to speak, or to get the attention in bulk so that we can get people a better price. That's it. We realize that took some of you your choices away. But our intent was to help, not to hurt, and to help people. And if that's what government does in this case, it's the same thing. We're going to have some situations in other areas where people may not like the fact that there'll be a sewer coming through. It happened in this area 150 years ago. Happened in West Haven 20 years ago. But the fact of the matter is with organic growth, which most of us have kids, those things are going to happen, and there are some changes. Our genuine intent, and I can say this from being in the room where it happens, I know there's been some misinformation given, especially about Commissioner Jenkins. He has been genuine. He has been never self-serving. He's been a great example to me on being a champion for what's right. I apologize again, though, for the communication on this part, and we'll do better next time. But there are things ever changing. I will tell you, and this goes to some of the other comments, we're actively looking, wanting, desiring waste to energy. So whether you've got a herd of cows, a bunch of horses, or just municipal waste that's gathered in a whole bunch of cans, we're hoping one day that that'll all go to energy. That does not exist. Having been here for 3.5 years, I've met with 3 of those guys from all over the world. But it doesn't exist yet. And it's not cost effective, and where it has piloted, it's failed. So we're not there yet, but I'm thinking it will, and we'll have this discussion hopefully sooner than later, where the 100%'s recycling. And I'll tell you, Mr. Ross, and I hope you're the leading guy of that. But that's not where we are right now. So those are my comments, Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you. Ralph, I saw that you have a couple comments.
Yes, I do.
We'll give you 2 minutes.
Okay.
Just
It's a public comment on that waste management issue, that recycling issue, so I made a comment on it. But Ralph Price, 636 6th Street. I would like to first say that I'm just very happy with the county commission, city council, and everything, the way they are really proceeding to get things done for the county here. But I want to correct you, too, for 1980. That was a great thing that the hockey team did. But when I had 2 legs and I stand up, no arthritis in this, I played for the Oakland Raiders for 6 years. In 1980, we came as a wild card team, and we took the Super Bowl. That was the greatest thing to start the year off. They just followed us. But I want you to know that I think that we need to be more adamant about being able to have Davis County, Box-Elder County, Morgan County, to pay their fair share in services that we provide out there. Commissioner Ford, I want to commend you that you head up for Lantern House and that the things that are done. Commissioner Jenkins, I want to thank you for what efforts that you have to be able to bring all of us nonprofits together in LHCC and the work that we can do, and we're being able to provide for so many displaced people. I'd like to recognize the 2 ladies right here and the work they do at the county commissioner office, so that a person like me coming in starting a new program can feel comfortable, be directed by them into places so that we can be effective and we can do the work we do. I would just like this commission here to be able to put out, because I've talked to Davis County Commissioner and Kamala called me back. I would like you to be able to have them to be an example that you guys set, and how much that you are behind the programs that are good. Roast Independence. Had to get a new chair because I was hit by a box truck. Mixed my whole thing up. Won't go to the hospital on the thing, so they hate that. But I just appreciate that I can get around still. I can be the activist I am because of you guys. I can go ahead and make promises and see them fulfilled, that we have people all the way going to college now. Out here at OTEC, we got the Taggart, the president there, and Mortensen at Weber State. I'm very thankful for that, but it starts here with you guys and the services that are provided. I just wanted to be able to say that and let you know that we're thankful.
Thanks, Ralph. We appreciate what you do. Thank you very much. Closing comments, Commissioner Jenkins?
Yes, I appreciate everybody coming today and the comments that were made. I've been involved with this once before, years ago, probably 25 years ago, 30 years ago, out in Plain City, and it's a little dicey when you first get started, but you just got to have patience and work your way through. The providers, the people who collect your garbage, they get down, they get on a system and a cycle, and they collect every week at the same time, same place, and it just takes a little time to get it down. But be patient with us, and I suspect these providers will do a great job, and it'll be a very successful program as time goes on.
Thank you, Commissioner Jenkins. Commissioner Harvey, I'm going to give you last shot at this.
Thank you, Commissioner. None.
Thank you. Again, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. The options are available for you online. Make sure that you fill those forms out. If you feel that you have a an opt-out provision that applies to you in your particular case, we're happy to look at that. And I would agree with Commissioner Jenkins that we will look at these providers and make sure as these final contracts are put in place that the public has the ability to have an access to good customer service. That's what we're here in the county about, and you have our word that that's what's going to happen with this new contract when it is signed. Thank you very much. Take a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you. We're adjourned.